Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the J Rock Show here from the SimWorld TV studios on this fine Friday afternoon. But this episode. We're doing something a little different. I'm gonna have Coach Skinny joining me for a segment of the episode. I got him talking to me about that move to Louisville or not Louisville, Wake Forest, I should say. So on top of head because of Coach Skinny, but Coach Skinny's gonna join the show to talk about what prompted him to come out of coaching hiatus and join Wake Forest to begin with, and then I have some other things planned throughout the episode, just flying solo, where we're gonna talk about Cooper Flagg and Dylan Harper getting that waiver to go pro, where we got a lot of hoops dairy action. The quad is set, ladies and gentlemen. The SMU run has been fantastic, and I have a lot of thoughts on it. But without further ado, let's welcome the man himself, Coach Skinny Washington, the host of Coffee Break, the man who sent three guys to SimWorld U already: Sky Durant, Nick Hugo, Carter Fields, who he's reuniting with, and he's about to send him a fourth in Marco Jacobs. So, Coach Skinny, welcome to the show. How are we doing?
Yo, what's up? A lot of people woke, but Coach Skinny's wake. Let's get it, man.
It's good to have you back, Coach Skinny. Last time you were here, we were having some technical difficulties, but finally JK has kind of figured those out. But for those of you who have been living under a rock for the last 48, 72 hours, Coach Skinny's going to Wake Forest. He's he took that job. I was kind of caught me by surprise. It was the middle of the day, man, but like there were a lot of jobs you were being linked to. South Carolina wanted you. I thought you were going to end up in Georgia, but I wrote I wrote an article yesterday. You talked to me about it a little bit about what prompted you to take this Wake Forest job and kind of come out of your mini retirement, but let the people know what was kind of at stake for you. What appealed to you about this job?
Well, you got uh, everything. Well, it's ACC, so that appeals in general. ACC. Um, I spent some time in Queen City, so I'm real familiar in North Carolina. Uh, so things like that. But what I really wanted to say was, you know, I don't have the greatest prep record. I don't. But you got to understand like how this works. So I picture us three. When I say us three, I'm talking about Drayton, Dre, and me being the first three to go, and I view it as like top three quarterbacks. So with Drayton, he's the first quarterback to go because he's elite at everything. He can recruit, build a culture. He's a strategist, right? So he's a what they call it bona fide can't miss prospect when it comes to coaching.
Patrick
Dre's the
Mahomes of
numbers.
coaching, you would say, right?
Yeah, yeah. Dre's second quarterback to go off the board because his elite recruiting. Um, and he has a pedigree of winning as well. So he's like the big cannon arm that just came off a stellar season. So he's the second quarterback to go. And people may have that eye raise of why I'd be the third quarterback to go, but you gotta understand, like, I build culture. Like, that's what I do. Every stop that I've been, Heartland, Queen City, I built a culture. I built a brand. When you get Coach Skinny, you get exposure. Even on the sideline, the amount of exposure that I gave Louisville is ridiculous. So that when you put that in the quarterback form, that's just a super rocket arm quarterback with high upside that you're gonna take a chance on, and that's what Wake did, and that's why I'm the third quarterback to go.
Well,
Sense.
I'm gonna kind of give the people a comparison here. Let's go back to the 2018 SWFL draft. Third quarterback drafted, high upside, strong arm, Josh Allen. That's that's just something that I kind of picked up on while you were talking. But I get why you made the move. I really do. But you mentioned the ACC with the top three quarterbacks. But what was it about Wake Forest itself? That was a team that made Hoopsteria not this year but last year and didn't look fantastic doing it. JC Graham's about to be a senior. You have a lot of freedom to kind of work with that roster. Was that also something that appealed to you, kind of to do it the skinny way and not really adopt? And like Dre Pope at South Carolina, for example, he's coming in, he's got some pieces in place, and he can kind of build on that. You're building from the ground pretty much outside of JC and Carter. So was that something you kind of thought about?
Yeah, to be able to, just like you said, be able to do it the skinny way and put my stamp on it and bring my elite exposure that I'm going to do for these kids. Um, I'm I'm going to bring a lot of ears and eyes to this program, on and off the court, and I think they like the perfect. I want to like I want to name it like Play-Doh, like the perfect starting Play-Doh to play with. Like I got pretty much everything I need, and I can mold from there. I'm not as bad as Drayton. Drayton really is a full blown, I think, a full blown rebuild. But once again, that's why he's the top quarterback to go. You need
Because
all that.
true overhaul, yeah.
Yeah, that's why he has to be the first one to go. Um, but yeah, I just think I think they got a good roster. I just think they had a down year, to be honest. I think it's a sleeping giant. They had 19 games last season. You don't go from 19 games to 6 just because, something. I think it was the scheme. I mean, or it just sometimes basketball just don't bounce your way. But we already seen the potential that they had. They won 19 games, man. And the some of the top teams that's in the ACC right now was the bottom feeders last season. So, things can get flipped on their head real quick.
Yeah. I think if you told someone before this season started that SMU would be in the quad, I think they would kind of call you crazy. They won 6 games last year. It's just like that.
Even if you even if you said it during the season, you would be looked at crazy. They didn't do amazing this season, but I mean that. Hey, the quad is. I mean the hoopsteria is just a different beast.
Yeah. And it's not about crowning the best team, it's about crowning who's the best at that time and who's the hottest. So,
Who's the hottest? Right. The hottest team's gonna win. You have to go on a win streak. So the hottest team's gonna win. It's just there's no playing around. There's not like the SWBA where you can take an off game and maybe take a few off games and get it to a game 7 and steal it. No, you got to come to play every day.
yeah. There's kind of a different level of competitive spirit, and you and I spoke yesterday and you were telling me about how you were kind of looking to chase like physical big men and kind of what you were looking for in recruits. So, what kind of player really is it? Because it looks like this Wake Forest team did not have a lot of 3-point shooting last year, and I know that's like definitely got to be an area of contention for you.
That's actually number one priority to bring in some shooters. And the other priority is bring in a physical big man. See, I've had Carter Fields, and I don't like him playing a big man. I think he's too athletic. He's too quick, and he can do a lot of different things. And I don't think the center position is his best his best foot. Like I just don't. So the plan is to bring in a legit big man and move Carter back to his power forward where he could be more comfortable.
Okay. And that brings me to my next question about Carter Fields. That's a guy you've coached before. It's a reunion. What or not that, but how excited are you to kind of have some familiarity with this program with a guy like Carter, and how excited was he when you called him when you gave him the news that you were taking this job? Because I would presume he was one of the first people you told.
Yeah, he didn't believe me. He told me stop capping all the slang that the young guys say. He said I'm lying and all this. You're not gonna play your favorite team multiple times a season, this and that. And I told him, nah, it's legit, man. Nah, we're not allowed to speak. In my contract, I'm not allowed to speak that name more than once a week. So I'm gonna save it for a time I need it. But that team, y'all know what I'm talking about.
Yes. Due to that clause in your contract, I'll ask a similar question, but it's
You could say it. I just can't speak them. I
okay.
can't say their name.
Yeah, but something that I've noticed is you got a lot of relationships within this ACC conference and kind of the area. Dre Pope's at South Carolina. Coach Drayton's also in Syracuse. I know you guys have a pretty good relationship because him and I do as well. And then there's still then you still got Carter Fields here. Was the reason you chose this specific job because of the those relationships and because want to you kind of like that iron sharpens iron mentality?
Well, yeah, and no. I do have a lot of relationships in the ACC, a lot, and it's more. It'd be more fun. Like if I'm gonna step to this level, I kind of want. I don't want it to be as stressful as it's gonna be. When you got competitors that you respect and you are actually friends with on other teams, it makes the process for all of us a lot better. Uh, we can actually learn and grow together while trying to kick each other's head in. So me, it's like going to the park with all the boys and we running horse out there or we running back to back games. Like so, it just makes it more comfortable stepping into a chaotic situation.
No, of course, and it definitely doesn't hurt knowing that there's some motivation knowing that one of the teams you are going to be playing twice a year is not only the team you used to coach for, but it's the team that you grew up a fan of. So, kind of will definitely be a full circle moment for you coaching for the first time at KFC Yum Center.
Yeah, and I talked to Pat. He's really excited for me. He's more excited that I'm not. I can't be over there picking his brain. I was sitting there and just asked him a million questions. Skinny, look, I got to game plan. I know, but listen, what about this? What about that? So there's a lot of Pat Kelsey that's inbred in me because me and him are so close, and I was always in the locker room, always in the office. So it's gonna be really fun. It's gonna be a chess match. I'm pretty much like I'm off the Pat Kelsey tree, basically.
Okay, interesting. Well, final question I have for you is I got to make sure that the coffee breaks with Skinny are still coming. Are we going to be scouting out the coffee spots in the Winston-Salem area?
Yeah, we definitely gonna be doing that. Uh, I don't know what I want to do. I wanna be careful with that because I got a lot of work to do. But the coffee break's still gonna come. I just don't know what the content gonna be because you know, now that I'm over here, I know, like I said, I got a lot of friends and a lot of people in the ACC. They ain't gonna be watching, trying to get anything I drop unintentionally. to use it against me game day. So I gotta be real careful.
Yes. And that's going to do it for the interview portion of this episode. Coach Skinny, was great talking to you, great having you on. I hope to have you on again this off season for a more extended episode to this, talk about your new gig, and hopefully to talk about some of the guys you've coached at the prep level, because Marco Jaco is about to be in the ACC facing you twice a year. It's there's there's I always like to pick your brain and hear what you have to say. So I thank you so much for taking the time, man, and congratulations.
Appreciate you. Thanks, JK.
Anytime. And for those of you watching at home, I appreciate you all tuning into this part. Stay tuned for the rest of the episode coming up soon. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to part 2 of this episode of the J Rock Show. First part, we had Coach Skinny. Hope you all really enjoyed it. I'm your host, as always, Jason J.K. Candell. And the quad is set. Ladies and gentlemen, we got UCLA and Alabama, a 1 and a 3. Two teams where if you told me they were in the quad, I don't know, 3 weeks ago, I wouldn't have been shocked whatsoever. But on the other side, we have 14th seeded Xavier, 13th seeded SMU. That, if you told me that 2 months ago, I would have been shocked by. SMU has been red hot offensively. Freshman trio, shout out Cam Jones, McCallum Duvall, and Maury Washington. It's rare you see freshmen handle the bright lights of hoopsteria this well, but it's been fantastic for SMU because Rob Lanier is probably on the hot seat entering the year, and there were a lot of questions about the future of that program, and they make their first quad since 1957 because of that trio. And McCallum Duvall has especially been fantastic in hoopsteria. He's a guy where just knows how to get open, hit all those spots, just always nailing those jumpers. And McCallum Duvall, like his brother Demario at Duke, I think he can get in the second round of the 2025 draft, excuse me, not 2025 draft. He's only a freshman, no eligibility, but he could get into the second round, or even maybe even the late first round of the 2026 draft, should he have a good year next year, or maybe he's a 4-year product for the Mustangs. I don't know, but he's been fantastic. Maury Washington, Coach Drayton said it best on the call last night. He is like a refrigerator on lightning wheels. I love that. So, Coach Drayton, I'm gonna steal that. Just letting you know. And Cam Jones, sharpshooter. What else is there really else to say? But Xavier, defensively, Braylon Burleson is our J Rock performer of the week this week. 8 steals and 3 blocks and 9 points against Illinois in the grade 8. They looked dominant that entire game. There were moments where Illinois kind of fought back a little bit, but it was Braylon Burleson for the second straight game who was the most impactful player for Xavier. And they're looking like a force. They were a 14 seed, clearly underseeded. Took out Lace Darius Outlaw, took out Jai Edge, took out D'Angelo Jordan. This team is just fantastic defensively, and Sean Miller has really established himself as one of the great coaches in SimWorld U with yet another deep run in hoopsteria, grade 8 last year, the quad this year, and I don't expect him to be coaching at Xavier next year because he's done such a fantastic job. So there's that. That's going to be a fantastic game. I think if I had to pick a winner, I'm going SMU because I know how fantastic that Xavier defense has been, but it's time for that run to end. The lowest seeded team to ever reach the quad, both of them actually. That record was broken twice in one year. We've seen 12 seeds, and then we get a 13 and a 14 in the same year. So pretty cool storyline, and I think that the miracle run of Xavier comes to an end because SMU's offense is red hot, and no offense they've faced has been this hot, and I don't think they're going to have a very easy time slowing down a guy like Maury Washington. So, but on the other side, it's the other game. I'll call it there's the undercard, the main fight. This is the main fight, and that is Alabama, UCLA, Jalen Snow, Quincy Henderson. So much talent, and I picked Alabama in my bracket, but I'm gonna change tune on that. Give me the Bruins. Give me Jalen Snow and that red hot offense for Mick Cronin down in Westwood. They're finally playing on like a true neutral site because they were in crypto.com arena. They got Alabama, who's a very well-oiled machine, great defensively, well coached, great offensively. DJ Childs, very balanced, and I think they could very well lose this game. But Jalen Snow and Gerald Carroll have been on a heater throughout Hoopsteria, and I can't bet against them. I think at this point they're the most likely team to win all of Hoopsteria, and had Cooper Flagg and Dylan Harper not received draft eligibility, I think Jalen Snow would have had a real argument to go number one. I've been saying it for so long, but he's been proving it all Hoopsteria. So like it's that. And that kind of brings me to that next topic, talking about Cooper Flagg and Dylan Harper, because they got the waiver. They're headed pro. Duke no longer has another year of the flag man. The basketball cyborg is ready to go. Him and Dylan Harper both get waivers to go pro due to the circumstances of being the first year of this 2-year rule. Probably no other players are gonna like get this opportunity, but I understand why they were given it, because they're pro ready. I think that SimWorld you should make exceptions for guys who are pro ready. And if you really look at it, the only two guys in all of SimWorld U, all at the freshman level, who are pro ready today are Dylan Harper and Cooper Flagg. And I think you can maybe make an argument for a Justin Bell or a Nas Hall, but I think Justin Bell just emerged as the consensus number one in next year's draft, or maybe Nas Hall did and Justin Bell's number two. But Cooper Flagg could have skipped college altogether and been the number one pick in the SWBA draft. That is rare. I think him and Harper will go top two. I wrote the article about it on Wednesday. 50 of the last 70 lottery picks were freshmen. This is a more experienced class, so having these two youngins, they're going to go number one and number two. Dallas is drafting Cooper Flagg. You get him, Kyrie Irving, Anthony Davis, Gastineau, Jamison Johnson, AD, front court. You know all Kentucky front court, but you get Cooper Flagg as a franchise cornerstone who gets to kind of like be molded and developed, but he also gets to sit. And I think this is the perfect spot for him to do that. It's the perfect mix of immediate contribution, and we can allow you to develop. You don't have to be the go-to scorer right away. And I think that's huge for a guy like Cooper Flagg, who put Duke on his shoulders this year. They lost the second round of Hoopsteria because their depth behind him was not good enough. They did not have Jeremiah Minor. So it was all on Roderick Little and DeMario Duval to carry, and they didn't carry the guards, and there wasn't enough there. Back-to-back losses in the second round for Duke. John Shire could be on the hot seat with it. It's Duke. The expectations are always high. No quads under John Shire. No national championships in a decade. No national championship appearances in a decade. And they've reached one quad in Coach K's final year and have not really done great since. Another, I'll say, pre-Super 16 exit for Duke under John Shire. We could see them make a change. Like, it's this is, John Shire's a good basketball coach, but this is Duke. You don't really stay alive at Duke winning 2 games in Hoopsteria. They want banners. That they take their basketball team seriously. It's like Alabama football. Should Kalen DeBoer have another 7 or 8 win season, people are going to be calling for him. Similar. But because it's such a premier program that's so used to winning after following such a great, it's the standard. And talking more about that, Cooper Flagg will be going number 1. Dylan Harper, the favorite to go number 2 to the Spurs, should they not trade it. I know they're in Giannis rumors. I think they will end up landing him, if you ask me. But those 2 guys are gone. For Rutgers, it's much worse. It's Jermaine Owens and Kamari on Goodyear, and they don't really have that much else to really build around. For Steve Piquel, has no recruits coming in. It's going to be tough. At least Duke with John Shire, they have 2 really, really good players coming in Andre Ivanov and Pablo Guzman. But Rutgers has little to be excited about without Dylan Harper for another year. Both these guys are pro ready right now, and I think it's going to set a standard of more players hoping to get this year. But I think it's also going to do wonders for development at the next level, because usually you're drafting guys as freshmen and you're hoping they develop and grow into that role. Now they're going to have another season of college ball under their belt. You expect them to contribute more immediately to a starting lineup off the bench. Like, that's why you see juniors, seniors go near the end of the first round to these contending teams, because you know they can help bench right away. But this is a different situation now, and we're going to see it happen more frequently. So it also is going to change talent evaluation. A guy like DJ Wagner, he's a sophomore. Does he have more upside maybe than a guy like Jalen Snow or CKC? I don't know, but he's a year younger, so maybe there's some more developmental potential there, or maybe there's more teams like with him being a year younger. But I personally like Jalen Snow more and CKC more at that. But it gives teams a very interesting thought. Like maybe Nas Hall and a lot of other players want this option. They're probably not going to get it. They're not going to get it. No other players are getting this option. It's Cooper Flag has been dominant for so long that you kind of have to give him this opportunity, because making him spend another year in college, all it does is kind of just waste a year of his SWBA career, and you know they want the viewership, and you know they want the financial aspect of him putting butts in seats and selling tickets in Dallas. But building on that, there's that. We have the quad, and we have Skinny going to Wake Forest. I like this move. I got to talk to him about it, and just with all these changes coming to SimWorld U, it's forcing teams to get creative and different, and we're seeing a new era of the sport emerge, and I could not be more excited about it. And that's going to do it for this episode of the J-Rock Show. I appreciate you all taking the time to join me. And remember, folks, SimWorld is the only place you can see the game, be the game. Have a great week. And if you have any questions for me, you do not ever hesitate to hit me up. Have a great week, everybody.